This is the Phoenix mind, where the fire refines, break the chains and rise to shine. Rise stronger, lead with heart, every end a brand new start. With Lisa Manzo, we transform, we ignite. This is the Phoenix mind.
Hi, I'm Lisa Manzo, and welcome to the Phoenix Mind Podcast. And today, my special guest is Nicole Sylvester. I think it's Nicole Hope Sylvester. Is that correct?
Either way is fine. Either way is accurate.
I just want
Hello.
to make sure all your peoples will know who it is. So I'm, using both. Anyway,
Perfect.
let me read you Nicole's bio so you can hear all about her. Nicole is a stress fluency educator, and we're going to have to find out what that is because I've never heard that before, and a
Hmm.
coach, guiding individuals through transformational journeys to harness stress as a catalyst for performance, resilience, and empowerment. With a deep understanding of the nervous system and emotional intelligence, Nicole teaches science-backed tools that enable clients to rise from the ashes of burnout and overwhelm, unlocking their full potential. After overcoming their own struggles with depression and stress, Nicole realized that healing stress within herself not only transformed her life, but also positively impacted her loved ones. Through her work, she empowers others to rise, rebuild, and perform at their highest level, knowing that mastering stress can lead to lasting personal and professional success. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me here today.
So tell us a little bit of your story on how you got to be where you are with let me get it right. A stress fluency educator.
Ah, yes, right? The
Yeah.
beautiful name. It really does make sense. Do you want my story first? Do you want me to tell you what stress fluency is? That's the real question.
Hmm. Tell
Hmm.
us what stress fluency is, because I'm really curious and I'm really curious.
Stress fluency is understanding that stress is actually just the body communicating with us to make us take action or process an emotion for survival purposes mostly. And it is understanding like it's essentially like having body literacy. As I get this information from my body through sensations and emotions, if I take that information and take a moment to respond to it rather than just go into reactive mode, then I'm taking that really valuable information to help me, stay on my path and to help me get rid of past problems. So there's two different kinds of ways you can do it. But stress fluency is instead of thinking, oh, I just need to push it away or ignore it or change something external, my approach is for us to actually create essentially a relationship with our body so that it knows that we, like a trusting relationship with our nervous system, essentially.
I
And
like that. Okay, now tell us your story.
that's what it is. And the reason that I got there was through my own life, just well, I had general anxiety disorder and about midlife after having my children, I that's when I really realized, oh, this is actually a real thing. Like otherwise I was kind of nervous, a little extra, like careful and controlling and all these wonderful little qualities that I thought were really essential. And then come find out, like, oh no, that's just really hypervigilance and hyper awareness and fear, et cetera, et cetera. And that compounded with being a phenomenal people pleaser, which is
Oh, yeah.
also an anxiety response, a nervous system anxiety response, and also just essentially pushing my body farther than it could go. I ended up really sick and in either hyper anxiety or some levels of depression and physically and it physically manifested in my body as all kinds of fun things like I'm too tired to walk across the street or I fall asleep. Yeah, right. I fall asleep while I'm reading books to my children and literally crawl myself like army crawl to my bedroom so I can try to rest before I need to be back up again to help them. And I was able to And I say it I mean it exactly as this is. It's going to sound weird to some people. I was able to literally manifest a rash on my body. Like,
Oh, I believe
oh,
it.
right? Like I thought I had an itch, and next thing you know, my entire body is covered in a rash. But I will tell you, I created it. And that's the level of capacity that our brain has to have our brain body connection to have things happen to our physical body and have them show up on us. And, other really fun things like my teeth hurt all the time and I couldn't swallow food and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, well, so you said something interesting that people pleasing is a stress response. Please explain that because I've never heard that before.
So people pleasing, and if you in the space of nervous system awareness, we're really familiar with fight or flight
And
and
freeze. And
freeze
freeze.
and fawn. And fawn, it's the four F's.
What's the last one?
Fawn, Fawn.
What does that
So
mean?
fawning means to start doing whatever you need to do to get the person that you're feeling concerned about to like you.
Oh,
So it's people pleasing. So if you like me, then I'm more likely to stay alive. And all of these I refer to as the primal body. To me, the nervous system is a primal body that is not evolved beyond like hunter-gatherer society, or to some degree, like being a zebra is the other way I say it. So we're hardwired to be zebras, and by that nature, we are hardwired to avoid rejection. And because rejection means we get kicked out of the herd and picked off by a lion. And it's like pretty much that simple. So what do you learn to do if you're a zebra in a herd is you fawn a lot, you're trying to guarantee that people will like you so they don't kick you out of the herd and you get picked off by a lion.
no,
And
that's so interesting.
yeah, and so because we can be in such heightened anxiety states throughout our lives, or especially most of this, as children, we create really phenomenal patterns to become like really empathic, right? Really sensitive to other people and really good at chameleoning to whoever we need to be to get people to like us. Really good at being hyper vigilant to body cues and even reading nervous systems. So nervous systems read each other through interoception, and because evolutionarily, we're trying to assess whoever we're with if they're a threat or not. So we're always reading each other, always subconsciously, body language, energy, all the things. That's why it's so easy for so many of us to take on other people's emotions. And if you're really good at people pleasing and fawning, you learned at a really good age, like a really young age, that if someone's unhappy around you, that you don't feel good when they're unhappy. And they also probably aren't so nice. And so you learn to start figuring out how to, like I used to make jokes that I would tap dance around until someone else felt better so that I would feel safe.
Uh-huh.
And when they feel better, I also feel better. So it's like a twofer. And so that's what I mean by fawning.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. I never heard that before, but it makes sense to me. So hopefully it makes sense to you out there in my audience. So how did you make this transition into it? Let's talk a little bit about that part of your life where you said you were crawling to bed and,
Seems so dramatic, but it was totally true. Like I kid you not, there was a time I army crawled down my hallway to my bedroom. And what ended up happening, just like I imagine a lot of people have that kind of catalyst or awakening moment, I fell asleep at a stop sign with both my kids in the car. I just picked up my preschooler, my daughter, and then I had a littler one. And like someone honked the car to wake me up because that is how physically eroded, if you will, my body was. Is that it wasn't because I was doing, I wasn't supplementing or trying to fix this discomfort or whatever with anything. I was just like exhausted and emotionally, I mean, all of the things. And so I was like, okay, well, this can't continue. So I was like, okay, what do you do now? Well, I did go to the doctor and had all the tests and all the things, and they're like, you're good. We don't know what's up. And I'm like, okay. And then so was seeing my psychologist. I saw a psychologist, therapist, all of that. And they like my psychologist told me I was an Olympian of anxiety. So try not to be overshadowed by my anxiety powers. But ultimately it was just like, I don't know what else to do. And, here's some meds. And I'm like, okay, like that's totally an option. But I'd really like to try uh, do a little more recon for myself, if you will, to figure things out. Did acupuncture. Acupuncture really worked well. If you're looking for acute relief from anxiety, stress, really good option. And I mean, my God, I was seeing functional nutritionists. I was doing I can't even remember the whole list. It was a lot. And ultimately they were all working in their own ways, but it was short term. And I was thinking, well, gosh, $10,000 later, I don't know that this is a sustainable approach to try to stay better. Like, I'm gonna have to get a job, which is gonna stress me out, which is gonna make me need to see them more. Like, you know, this
Oh
is not
yeah.
gonna work. And ultimately, figured out that the reason why it wasn't sustainable was because my nervous system was in the pattern of being anxious rather than my mind, right? And so much of that work, which is why acupuncture worked because acupuncture was calming my nervous system. That's why acupressure is helpful and things like that. And and still, I needed to figure out like what do I need to do on a daily basis, really, to keep bringing the body down. And I realized that through movement being the key, that through a body-based approach, like instead of like, oh, I'm going to think my way and I'm going to relax, right? Oh, like meditation. Meditation's great. But for anybody's listening who's tried meditation, if your body thinks you're being chased by a bear, right? Like, which is what happens where you're super stressed and anxious, hypervigilance, like it just thinks you're being chased by a bear 24 hours a day. And so think about this scenario. I'm running from a bear. I'm running from a bear. I'm running from a bear. Hold. I'm just gonna sit down for a second, close my eyes.
Well, when you explain it that way, I could see why meditation wouldn't work.
Like, and it does work, but it's really good for holding a calm pattern rather than trying to get into a calm place. And so I was super frustrated. I mean, that was when I was learning my mindfulness techniques, really like getting my certification in mindfulness and all of that. And so much of that I'm just like, why is it not working for me? And that was why, because there's more to it than that. It's super beneficial. It's really beneficial if you've already moved. But imagine again, that information, that stress fluency means that we are paying attention to the information in our body. And if our body wants to move, it's probably an old stress cycle that we didn't take years ago. And now it wants to move. Like to
Yeah.
stand up to Johnny when he called us a silly face on the playground or something. I don't know. Or every time you couldn't cry because, somebody was around, or you couldn't be mad because if you got mad, your parents sent you to your bedroom. Like all of these different moments of emotions or actions that we didn't take over the course of our entire lives, really, for the ease of this discussion, get stuck in us. And when they come out, it's our body saying, we either need to do something right now to stay alive, or we need to process something from the past to get it
Yeah.
out of us for our own well-being.
Oh yeah, I know. I got a pain right here in my back these days, and I watched a TV show and it triggered something, and and I'm like, I wonder what. And I wish I remembered what show I was watching because I'd go back and rewatch it and find out what it triggered, what emotional response it triggered. But I know it triggered something because that pain, it's in there, and I'm like, it needs to be released, and I understand that, and that's so interesting. So I have another question for you.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so I asked you the question I want to ask you, what's the truth you had to learn the hard way?
Oh, that I'm not perfect. I would say that I don't have control over my external world, that I am not perfect, that everybody doesn't have to like me for me to be happy. There's a bunch of them. But that I would say, just being again an Olympian of anxiety. You
Right.
learn
So
a
let's
lot.
right. And so when you also on your on your bio and the questions I asked you, it says you said, and I want you to speak to this, that you should disappoint others before you disappoint yourself. So let's talk about that because that goes to people pleasing where you have to stop doing for others. And let's just what's your version of that and why is that so important?
Well, I'm going to come back to people pleasing is just a way for us to feel safe. So that if people like us, then we don't get kicked out of the herd or the tribe or whatever you want to say, and then picked off by the lion that apparently is hanging out all the time waiting for us. So it is literally a survival skill that our subconscious and nervous system have created as a team or one thing, depending on how you want to see it. And so when we become people pleasers, we never, ever, ever want to let someone down. Never. Do not disappoint them. Do not make them unhappy with you because that, or that their need or their like for you is safety. That's what that means exactly. So you learn to not be yourself. I mean, the bigger picture of this is you learn to never know who you are, what you really want, what you really want to do. You're willing to sacrifice your needs, your desires for anybody else because it's safer. And so to try to, it seems like a radical shift, but it really is a beautiful way to start figuring out what's real about life,
Mm-hmm.
what's real about yourself. If I am willing to take the bold risk of disappointing someone else so that I don't let myself down, and then I get to kind of scientifically watch the result of it, I can retrain myself to feel safer because then I don't need other people and to learn more about what really matters to me and who I really am. And that was the final piece of this journey. Like the body regulation was essential to getting there, but ultimately I was like, whoa, I had tons of beliefs about who I was, who I am, or who I was, and who I was supposed to be, and especially for other people, and what my life needed to look like so that people would like me, so that I would be safe. And that's really all it breaks down to, including, and people don't love this often, we use the word love a lot in synonymously with safety. Because if
Yeah.
people love me, I'm safe. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they don't love me, but interesting.
Yeah. You know, that is interesting. And we could talk about this. I've had many people in my life tell me they love me and never felt safe with them.
Yep.
Never felt safe with them. And now at this stage of my life, when people tell me that they love me, it's coming from a different place because I'm a different person. I'm not that people pleasing anymore. And when people say it, I know I'm not, they're not saying it because I'm people pleasing them. I know they're saying it because they actually mean it because I'm showing them who I really am. And the authentic me is showing up as a person. It's very interesting, the whole nervous system thing, because I've been working at this coaching business for 4 or 5 years now. And I had to go slowly because my nervous system wouldn't allow me. I would love to have gone and did it in like 2 or 3 years or even a year, but my nervous system just wouldn't allow it. And I understand it now and I can feel it. And I'm like, okay, I know how to keep me moving. Sometimes I just have to slow down because I
Hmm.
just can't move as fast as my conscious mind wants to be moved. My unconscious mind would, no, no, we can go, but you have to go a little slower,
Hmm. Hmm. I love
which
that.
is which is great awareness, you know,
Yeah.
but because I can feel the triggers in my body. I know what they are now. Like
Hmm.
I know what happens in my body when I'm feeling that. Do you have that same, does that happen for you as well? Do you still feel that sometimes in your nervous system?
Triggers, you mean?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
needing to stop and slow down or something for the stress in your body, right? So
Yeah.
are you still
Yes.
healing?
Yes. Oh, always. I think our journey is always healing. And I do want to I want to hold that and I want to come back to that love piece real fast. I
Sure.
think the difference is between unconditional love and conditional love. We can tell when it's conditional love, meaning we have to be a certain way for other
Right.
people to love us. And I think I just want to point that out for a lot of people because when we're authentically us and people still love us, that is unconditional love. And people throw these words around all the time, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Or I didn't, all the time I'm like, what do you mean by that? It means I can be exactly who I am, like exactly who I am, without people pleasing, without anything. And I know you can feel it when someone's genuinely telling you that they love you. That feels phenomenal. When other people kind of say they love you, but it's based on whether or not you did X, Y, or Z. You were the person they needed you to be with their rules. That doesn't feel like love. And then you're fighting kind of to keep it. That's how people pleasers stay people pleasers for so long because it's an interesting space. Okay, that pins away. Now, do I feel stress? Of course. And the thing about it, the reason why I called it stress fluency is that every time we are experiencing life, good or bad, our body is having a stress reaction. It's just chemicals and reactions of movement and things that our body is negotiating. Every emotion is ultimately causing some level of stress in us, whether it feels good or bad. So good emotions eustress, and the other is just plain old yuck stress. I know there's probably a science word, but it doesn't matter. And the key is, like at some point, no one needs to be taking notes. The goal is just to be self-aware enough and self-understanding, meaning I understand how my body works enough to make choices, because that's all the body is ever trying to do is give you real live in real time data to do something for yourself. Either run from a bear if it's a bear, or process something old because it came up and it was activated, and now you get to take a moment to honor that, the pain even, and then let it be released.
All right. So here's something that I tell people all the time. Nervous and excited is the same physical response in the body, except the difference is what you tell yourself in your brain. So wouldn't you rather tell yourself you're excited than you're nervous?
Yep. Yep. Well, and so that brings to what I do second. So first, I kind of help people reconnect with their bodies because it is surprisingly a high. So just in case you're worried about this, high numbers of people who don't even pay attention to their body anymore because it's so uncomfortable to feel it that we use outside sources to distract us. And you can go anywhere from alcohol use to media use to anything. And that is oftentimes, especially these days, especially post-COVID, a really natural, if you will, reaction, common, that would be a better word, common reaction to having too much stress in the body. And so but once people reconnected with themselves, well, what do you do with that information? You actually get to start getting curious about your beliefs, which I call, the rules. What are your rules? What is your rule maker made about how you have to live life or who you need to be in any given situation? And once you start challenging those, you get more, that's essentially like you're saying, right? Is this excitement or this sensation in my body because of this or because of this? And you do get to choose. But by nature, the subconscious just will try to predict the next thing that's going to happen that's bad. Because we are pre-wired, we are hardwired to look negative first just for survival purposes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we got to stay away from that saber-toothed tiger and that lion.
Yeah, it's a really crazy world of animals out there. At any given moment, we could just get picked off by some big beast.
Oh, dogs are like that for me.
Okay, there you go. You're always running from the dog.
I just, the dogs that aren't on the leash and then want to jump on me, and I don't want them jumping on me. And, it's just, and I have that physical response in my body, and I'm just like, why can't this dog be on a leash? Why?
Please, no, thank you. No, thank you, dog. I'm gonna pass.
I don't have that option with it out on a leash.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what's one thing that, how have you applied this with your family? Let's talk about that.
How do I apply? Oh, all the time. So, fun fact. Because in the early years of my children's life, I was very stressed out and overwhelmed and burnt out and tripping out. My kids have pretty solid anxiety. And I like to share that because I'm not beating myself up about it. It's a fact of life. And I also want a lot of adults to know, either adults with kids or without. So that one, if you've had therapy or done a lot of psychology reading, whoever's listening, that 0 to 7 time frame that people talk about a lot is a very, very important time in our lives because our bodies and nervous system are waiting to create rules about who we need to be and how to stay safe and how to stay alive. So when we get to be adults and we have all these interesting rules, which is why I have people go back and start challenging them, we have to start getting curious about why we do what we do. However, no, and we'll put it that way. As parents, our children are reading our body language, our nervous systems, and all of those things, and they're feeling what we feel. We think we hide it with smiles and, jazzy arms or whatever, but they know how we feel. And when they feel that and we don't articulate how we feel, then they don't understand what's going on. And then you get a lot of anxiety.
And then they don't know how to express their own feelings either because you're not expressing yours.
Correct. And if I had known that, I taught first grade for 10 years. And oh man, if I could go back and teach those kids the things I know about how bodies work, I would feel like I would save them years and years of future issues that there were challenges. But so yes, I teach this all to my children. We do visualizations, we do body movement. It's a little more challenging to make my high school son do a lot of stretching stuff. He'll do it, but it's a real battle. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let me know when you don't want to feel all anxious anymore. Oh, I can't make you.
So I was also a teacher and I was teaching second grade one year. And one of the other teachers, I'm going to say she was very vivacious and loud. So, and she would call me by my last name. And she opens the door and goes, "Hey, Manzo!" And all the kids, they're second graders now, they all froze. They didn't know what to do. And they all turned and looked at me. And I'm like, "Yes, I forgot her name. Miss So and so, what can I do for you?" And I was just very calm and very relaxed. And the kids just went back to what they were doing because they looked at me and I reassured them in my body language and my tone and everything that it wasn't anything to be afraid of. But, I was like, and I did that in my classroom for them. I was able to communicate that for them, which is cool. And it's great that you can, when you can model it. And now you're modeling it now. So your kids will get it.
Well, yeah. And when I used to teach, actually, what was fascinating and really effective, and I didn't know why, is that I taught all my students sign language because you have to use a lot of body language and it's very quiet and you learn how to communicate better with your face and all of these things. So it makes it easy. So people are more self-aware of what their face is doing and how their body's moving. And I was like, why did it worked so well? And now I understand why, because it was all the facial cues. But with my children, yeah, I pretty much just teach them massive amounts of self-awareness, and I'm sure much to their chagrin, I'm constantly telling them about how I'm feeling.
I love it. I love it. It's another great tool, and I did this as a teacher. My class sang a song in the Christmas show, and we sang Frosty the Snowman. And anytime in the class, we all knew the words, right? So anytime in the class, when the class was starting to get rowdy or anxious, I just started singing Frosty the Snowman, and they'd all start singing, and it just bring the energy level down, and everybody became happy and calm because it was such a happy experience as a class and as a group together, and it just
Hmm.
brought back that memory for them. And it was
Hmm.
so cool. So, that's another tool that families can use, a song that they really like and that means something for them because
Well, and
music is
there's
powerful.
multiple parts to that, right? So you're
Yep.
So you're doing a community thing. It's got a nostalgia piece to it. And singing is a nervous system regulator because of your vagus nerve. So
Exactly.
just for anybody wanting a little extra science on there, well
There-
done. Singing and humming, really, really good for na vagus nerve regulation.
Awesome. So Nicole, I have two more questions for you. Is the first one is when somebody wants to learn more from you, how can they do that?
They can come to my website, which is stressfluent.com, and I offer really nice, impactful 15-minute free talks. And, if you say you've been on the show, we can go longer. My goal is really to raise self-awareness about stress because it is a shockingly untalked about thing aside from just passing, I'm stressed. And I'm
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, but it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of wreaking havoc on your insides and maybe your relationships and possibly your performance, but that's cool. It's just stress. We'll just ignore it. And so that's what I would recommend. Come to my website and chat with me and see if I can offer you a thought or two on something you could do immediately to feel some relief.
Awesome. And a piece of advice or a tool that my audience can use if they're having a stressful moment.
Stressful moment. Shake, sway, or hum. Shake, sway, or hum. Always remember that stress needs to be processed through the body first because you've got a lot of chemicals getting dumped into you when you're really stressed out, and you need to move them to, process them by movement to get them out. And that also tells your body that if you're shaking, swaying, or humming, then you're probably not being chased by a bear or the lion. So you're safe.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to have had this discussion with you.
Awesome. And I'm Lisa Manzo, your host of the Phoenix Mind podcast. And I will see you on the next episode.
This is the Phoenix Mind, where the fire refines. Together we rise, transform our lives. So subscribe, share the